Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through them briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. We have the Visconti Daedalus. We have a Visconti Medici Magnifico in the Egyptian marble. We have a Visconti Opera Master Savana. We have an Onoto, and this is the Magna Classic in the chased green or jade. We have another Onoto Magna Classic in the chased amber. We have another Onoto Magna Classic, but this is the Cult Pens exclusive Christmas Carol. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the black marble, a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble, and then a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Lapis Lazuli. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up in a little bit more detail here. So this is the Leonardo da Vinci Machina, and you have his signature on what almost, I want to say is a cap band, but it's almost a central cap band, not in the conventional location that you would normally expect a cap band to be. But you do have a band here that says Machina, but that is actually on the body, Visconti Machina. And then you have this beautiful, beautiful scrimshaw going on that pen, and it really is quite exquisite. So I'm really in love with this pen a lot. The clip is a little bit sort of strange. You can almost squeeze the cogwheel here to lift that clip, but you better to lift it here. In terms of the mechanism, it is a power vac. It's a single reservoir. You have a hook safe lock mechanism on it. You have the concave section here, which is what I prefer in a section because it stops your fingers slipping down onto the nib and feed. And this has the newer Visconti number 6 size medium 18 karat gold nib there. You can also post the cap if you want to, although there's a lot of metal here on the clip and on the end here. So you will find it quite back weighted, but you can post that cap if you wish. It's a somewhat special pen to me. It's not a cheap pen. It ranks up there in, I think probably I have a bunch, probably a few at least, that are what I would class as my more expensive or most expensive pens, and that is certainly one of them. The next pen here is the Visconti Daedalus, and this really is a nice pen. The story behind this is actually quite interesting because a friend of mine, Tony, in Kansas City, he actually managed to get one of these at a really good price. And I'd been lusting after it for a while. And then just as the pandemic was hitting in, when was it? I'm thinking the London Pen Show was March 2020. I remember Michael from Manuscript Pen saying, "Hey, look, I've got this pen. Do you want to review it?" And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he offered me a good price for the pen, and I took it. So, strangely enough, I took a bunch of pens from him for review at the time, and of course, end of March 2020, the whole world went into lockdown. So I think I had these until like May, June time. I couldn't give them back to him any sooner, and then I just decided, you know what, I'm actually going to buy this because he offered me a good price, and it almost was a steal. So I was really glad in this. It's a silver overlay on a sort of translucent blue with silver glitter impregnated into it body. But you have the maze here, and you have Daedalus here on the cap band, and then a Minotaur's head there as well. So this really is a nice themed pen, and I do like a good themed pen. And in terms of the length, it's a really good size. You can post the cap, but it's way too long. and I find this with a lot of long pens. I think a lot of people go for shorter pens so they can post the cap. With a longer pen, you just do not need to post the cap. At least that's how I feel. And then the nib here is the older 23 cat Palladium medium nib. A beautiful pen, and I really do like it a lot. So glad that I was able to pick this one up. And a lot of people ask me, how do I find these pens? And quite frankly, a lot of these pens find me. I guess I have a reputation in the community now, in the fountain pen community, where people will offer me pens, and it could be second-hand sale of pens from a collector. It could be a retailer, and a lot of the time I will happen just to be contacted, and somebody will say, "Hey, look, I've got this pen. Would you be interested?" And then I ask what the price is, and then at that point we normally can do a deal, and if it's a pen that I want. So a lot of these pens can actually, some of them I will seek out, and some of them will just come to me. This pen here is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Egyptian marble, and this was one that I seeked out. I did contact the UK distributor Manuscript, Michael, and I asked him, but unfortunately, because there is only 188 of these pens, they sold out within the first few days to distributors. He didn't order any, so I was then looking at, well, I need to go and buy it from a retailer somewhere, and I spoke to Chris at Truffet, and he's sold me a lot of Viscontis in the past, and he was happy to oblige, and I bought this one from Chris. It does have a lot of fleur-de-lis here on the cap. It's a very heavy cap. Likewise, the body is marble as well. And then the nib in here is a number 6 size Visconti. It's a newer 18 karat gold. I got a medium nib. You can post the caps on these, but it's very back weighted. It's just not something that really interests me too much. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Opera Savana, and again, this was one that I went to seek out myself. I was looking through eBay. I was a little bit bored, and I found a few auctions, and this was from Regina Martini in Germany, and I bid along with a bunch of other people, and I won the auction. And there were two. There was one with a medium nib and one with a broad nib, and I figured that with a yellowy coloured pen, I would probably need to look at a broad nib, so I bid on this one. I think I even bid on the medium one, but I wasn't as aggressive, and I was outbid on the medium, and I got this one, which was good. It's a beautiful pattern. I've not seen any patterns as good as this one. 888 of these made, and this is, what, 277. It is a power vac. It's a double reservoir, so 2.5 milliliters of ink, hook safe lock mechanism, and the nib there is an 18 karat gold newer in-house nib from Visconti, but that really is a nice writing nib, and I have to say I do like that. I think I'm glad that I didn't get the medium nib, because putting a yellow ink in a medium nib, I think you're just not going to see the ink as much. So I think I was right going for a broad nib. I was umming and ahhing, should I see if I could find one elsewhere with a stub nib, or should I swap one of my stub nibs over? But I do like it with a broad nib, and I think I was right, bang on there with that decision. The next pen here, again, was another pen that I seeked out. I was looking, and I saw that Roy Izod's had this pen for sale. It was second hand. I've always admired the Onoto Magna Classics in the chased material. This silver here is chasing. What you would normally see on vintage pens, you've got the Onoto coin finial there on the cap, but that chasing is what you would see on vintage pens. I do like this a lot. I've always lusted after more of the amber one or a red one, but I saw this green, pearl, or jade, as they sometimes call it, and I decided it was a good price. I would buy it, and I added it to my collection. And It has a number 7 size Onoto nib, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. I did replace the nib. The reason being that the previous owner, second hand, or the previous probably first owner to the pen, had ground the nib down to a crisp metallic, and I did round it off. It just didn't. I couldn't do much more with the nib to make it right like a normal out of the box nib. So I decided I would buy another nib, and I did in March 23 at the London Pen Show. Glad that I did, because this, as much as I liked this pen and liked how it wrote to a point, I like it even more now. So if you find that you dislike a pen for whatever reason, that you just don't think it writes well, then do one of two things. If you can bring yourself to do it, buy a replacement nib, or if you don't want to spend that amount of money, get the nib ground down by a nibmeister, preferably at a pen show, because you can sit there, you can watch him grind the nib, and you can keep trying the nib until it writes how you want it to write. So that's what I would suggest. A lot of people, I think, will buy a pen. It's a pen that they wanted, and then decide, you know what, this doesn't write very well, and then they go and sell the pen. And I think that, although that's fine, I think if you like the pen enough to want to keep it, then just do something with the nib. Either buy a replacement nib. It might be you bought a fine or an extra fine and you want a medium. Buy a medium. Or if it's a medium and you want a finer nib, buy a fine or an extra fine nib. Screw it in. Most of the nibs will unscrew. Just make sure before you buy it that you can unscrew the nib first. But failing that, take it to a nibmeister who could probably unscrew it for you, or certainly modify the nib to make it write more to your liking. The next pen here is again another Onoto Magna Classic, and this one I picked up from Dylan Stevens in the UK. Again, really, really good price, and second hand with an 18 karat gold nib, and I just jumped at it. This was the one that I always wanted, and I just saw it there looking through his website one evening, and I immediately bought it. I didn't stop for a few seconds. I just bought it. So this does have a number 7 size Onoto 18 karat gold nib. Again, this was a medium. I didn't get to choose this nib. It just came in the medium, which is fine. I prefer medium nibs. These are cartridge converters, these Onotos. You can post the caps. They'll post deeply and securely. Not really back weighted, so if you want to post your caps, then certainly Onoto Magna Classics are a good one to post. You do get a lot of threads on these Onotos though. That's the only thing that I would say, and I know that's not for everyone. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind if it's got a quarter of a turn or 5 turns of a cap to put on the pen, but I know some people, it does bother them a little bit. The next pen I did seek out myself, and it's the Onoto, and this is a Christmas Carol, and I believe this is the 2022 model. I really should actually ask Onoto. I keep forgetting to. The reason why I bought this I'm pretty sure I saw this. I was sure that I saw this last December, 2022, and it had sold out at Colt Pens. It's a Colt Pens exclusive. But then I saw this in, when was it? May, June time this year, and I saw it and I just decided I would buy it. Maybe it hadn't sold out. So I think this was a 2022 model. Now, in terms of the limited edition here, you'll see here it's 9 of 10. So there were only 10 of these made. So I think this might have even been a 23 model actually. But it's a really good work of art. You can see all of this lovely gold sort of Christmassy pattern. I just really like the look of this, and I was sold on this one. So I got it in the summer sale at Colt Pens. There was the gold nib version. There was a steel nib version. I got the steel nib version because I worked out that the steel nib version was a lot cheaper than the gold nib version, to the point that I could buy a gold nib, put it on the pen, and it would still be cheaper than the gold nib if I'd actually purchased the gold nib version of the pen. So for me, that was actually quite a good deal. I still got a steel nib on here. Came with a broad steel nib. You can post the cap there. And I've thought about swapping the nib over to an 18 karat gold nib, but at the moment, I'm actually happy with that broad steel nib. I would say it's a little bit more stiffer than the 18 karat gold Onoto nibs, but it still writes very well. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the black marble. I really do like this, and it's just a beautiful pen. I was able to pick this pattern. The one that I originally had shipped did leak, and it went back to Visconti, and they said, well, actually, you know what, would you like to pick the pattern? So they showed me, I think it was 8 or 10 pens, and I was debating over 2 different patterns, and then it came down to this one. So I did pick the pattern on this. Typically, I will not. A lot of people say you get the best patterns in pens, and honestly, majority of the time, I do not choose them. But this was one of the exceptions, I would say. This is a Powervac filler, a single reservoir, hook safe lock. It's made of marble and a really heavy cap as well. And you'll see there it's a number 6 size Visconti, newer 18 karat gold nib in a medium nib. This one here, it's a silver cap. This one is, I believe, a bronze cap. So it is again quite heavy. And then this one here is the silver cap version. So this is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble. So it's an aged silver look to this cap that you can see there. Again, the fleur-de-lis there that you can see. This red marble, very heavy pen. I think, recollection, it's about 65 grams in weight in total. Powervac, single reservoir, hook safe lock mechanism. This has a 23 karat palladium medium nib on it, so not the newer 18 karat gold nib, but I actually like. People ask me, do you prefer, and I get this asked all the time, do you prefer the 18 karat gold older nibs, the newer nibs, or the 23 karat palladium nibs? And honestly, it doesn't really bother me on which nib. I would say that in a lot of cases, some of my 23 karat palladium nibs are more bouncy, more springy, and more luxurious to write with. But you can equally get some 23 karat palladium nibs that are almost like a steel nib. They're very rigid. So it really does depend. And I always say, if you can, get to write with the pen yourself. Get to try it out. Not all retailers will allow you to do that, and not all the time you can do that, because it may be that you don't have a pen shop nearby, or a pen show nearby, or a pen club even. So there is that difficulty. But if you get the chance, do try and write with a nib first, even if you're only dipping it. And then the last pen inked up here is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Lapis Lazuli. And this is a really, really nice pen. I love it. It's in this gold plated vermeil. So again, this will be a silver cap. But you've got the fleur-de-lis there. You've got the lapis lazuli stone, or marble, essentially. So again, very heavy, 65 grams-ish in weight. Powervac, single reservoir, hook safe lock. And it's got the newer 18 karat gold medium nib, in-house nib from Visconti. So again, that is it's a pen that I like writing with. So I've got a lot of the older 14 karat gold nibs from Visconti or Bock, the older 18 karat, the slightly newer but still old 23 karat palladium nibs, and then the newer 14 and 18 karat gold in-house nibs from Visconti, and I typically don't have an issue with any of them, but my favourite probably would be the 23 karat palladium, which are no longer made, unfortunately. Or they're made by Bock. You can still buy them as a Bock standard nib, but not a Visconti nib. So there you have it. That's my currently ink pens for this week. I think let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up is the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a medium nib. And a lot of people go on about Viscontis, about their QC, their quality control, that some of the nib widths are not correct. And yes, you can get that. And this is one of those nibs, actually. It's a medium nib, but it writes more like a fine. Does it bother me? No, it doesn't. I still like how it writes. Would I have preferred a medium? Possibly. But I still find, because it's a wet writer, it glides across the page, writing like a fine nib, that I really do like it. So this is the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. And it's a medium, 18 karat gold, newer in-house nib from Visconti. And then the ink in here is diamine ochre. And I think ultimately, yes, if you want a medium nib, you want a medium nib. Visconti are not the only ones. Like, these nibs are actually made by Bock. So it's more of a Bock issue. And you will see this. I've got some Bock steel nibs that are mediums that write more like a broad, and some broads that write more like a medium. It's not per se Visconti's quality control. It's more Bock's quality control. And I'd say if you want more consistency, maybe look at a pen with a Jowo nib, because I typically find most of the Jowo broads are the same width. And likewise, most of the Jowo mediums are the same width as well. So I've not had as much of a consistency issue with Jowo nibs. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Daedalus. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a nice ink. I do like this ink quite a lot. So this is the Visconti Daedalus, and it's a medium, and it's a I just want to double check this. It is the 23 karat palladium. What is it? Let's double check that. Yeah, it's 23 karat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Topaz. But that is a really nice blue ink, and almost cerulean blue. It's an ink that I do like a lot. The next pen inked up is a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Egyptian marble. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I think I've said on previous videos, do let me know if there's an ink that you think I should match to this pen. It's a yellowish pen, so I typically want a yellow ink, but I don't want a bright yellow ink. So a dusty yellow, or a mango, or something along that lines, really. So this is the Visconti Il Magnifico. Just shortening that a little bit. And it's the Egyptian marble. And it's a medium, and it's a newer 18 karat gold in-house nib from Visconti. The ink in here is KWZ El Dorado. And I'm still thinking about inking that up with Lamy Mango. But if there are any other inks that you think would be a good match, let me know. If I've got that ink, I might then try to ink it up If I don't, and it's an interesting colour ink, then maybe I'll buy the ink and give it a try. Although I'm trying my best not to buy new inks. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Opera Master Savana. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this does have Lamy Mango inked up. So you'll see the difference here. And maybe this would look better in the Visconti Il Magnifico. So this is the Visconti Opera Master Savana, and it's broad, and it's the newer 18-karat gold nib, and then the ink in here, as I mentioned, was Lamy Mango. But that actually, I'm very, very tempted to ink up the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico with Lamy Mango, because I think that would look very nice. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Magna Classic in Chased Green. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I love the colour combination of the ink to this pen, and it's just one I keep going back to. So this is the Onoto Magna Classic in Chased Green. It's actually green pearl, really, but I'm going to run out of space. It's a medium, and it's an 18-karat gold nib, and then the ink in here is Diamine Meadow. But I do think that that's a perfect match to this pen. I have considered putting Apple Glory in it again, but I just find that that is a really, really good match. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Amber. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a lovely coloured ink. And I do actually just need to double check that, because I always have the doubt in my mind about what this is inked up with, and I don't want to say the wrong ink. So let me search on my database. Yeah, it is the ink that I thought it was inked up with. I always see it in this pen, and I think it's a little bit too dark for the ink. So this is the Onoto Magna Classic Chased Amber, and it's a medium, and it's an 18-karat gold nib, and then the ink in here is a J Herban or Herban Amber de Bermanie, which is a very beautiful ink. It does appear a little bit lighter in other pens, certainly less wet writing pens, I would say, but that is a beautiful colour. I always get it mixed up with Diamine Autumn Oak, which I think is a slightly lighter colour. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Christmas Cowl, and this is the Cult Pens exclusive. Now, I do have this inked up with a lovely sparkly gold ink still, and this is a really nice colour. So this is the Onoto, and it's the Cult Pens Christmas Cowl. And it is a broad nib that I got this with, and it's a steel nib, but maybe I will change it at some point, but I just like how that writes. The ink in here is, again, a Cult Pens exclusive, so it's Cult Pens made by Vinta, and it is whiskey gold. But it's a beautiful shimmery ink, and because it's got a broad nib on it, I do not have any flow issues with that. particulate in that ink. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the black marble. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a very, very dark ink. It's not a black. So this is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the black marble, and it's a medium, and it's a newer 18 karat gold nib from Visconti, and then the ink in here is diamine graphite, which I wouldn't have thought graphite was a really dark black ink, but it has turned out. Let me see if I can grab the bottle or the box here. This is potentially the colour that's on the box. So it's an interesting difference in colour there. But I like it. I do like that a lot. The next one inked up is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble. So we'll do an ink swatch. Make sure it's on camera. And this is, again, another good match for this pen. I like, when I say a good match, I don't necessarily mean to the colour of the pen, but I mean in terms of ink flow. So this is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble. And it's a medium, and it's the 23 karat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is KWZ Thief's Red. And I would normally put in Pelican Ailsign Star Ruby in this pen, but more lately I've been inking it up with KWZ Thief's Red, and it's just an ink that I'm really loving. And then the last pen inked up is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Lapis Lazuli. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And you can see here, this is a really nice colour. So this is the Visconti Medici. Seeing if I could maybe remove Medici, but because I think I'm going to run out of space. Magnifico in the Lapis. Yeah, I'll be fine. Lazuli. And it's a medium, and it's a newer 18 karat gold nib from Visconti. And then the ink in here is Pilot Owashizuku, and it's Aji Sei. That is a beautiful ink. It's just one that I've come to love. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We've got a Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with diamine ochre. We have a Visconti Daedalus in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Egyptian marble in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ El Dorado. We have a Visconti Opera Master Savana in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Lamy Mango. We have an Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Green in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Meadow. We have an Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Amber in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Herbin Amber de Bermanie. We have an Onoto Colt Pens Christmas Carol in a broad steel nib inked up with Colt Pens Vinter Whiskey Gold. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the black marble in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Graphite. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with KWZ Thief's Red. And then last but not least, we have the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Lapis Lazuli in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pilot Washizuku Aji Sei. So there you have it. That's my current ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.